Let's start with the question I think everyone is still asking themselves. How did a game like this even happen? How did Nintendo, a company who is typically fairly prudent about lending out their gold standard IP, agree to give the keys to their Mushroom Kingdom to Ubisoft and let them merge it with Rabbids, arguably Ubisoft's weakest and most widely loathed franchise? Well, Shigeru Miyamoto, the co-representative director of Nintendo, liked the concept that Davide Soliani, creative director of the game at Ubisoft Milan, pitched to him, and given the close relationship forged between Nintendo and Ubisoft through the Japan-exclusive version of Just Dance Wii, which caters to a Japanese audience, Ubisoft was granted permission to go ahead with it. Still, an XCOM-style turn-based strategy game that focuses on Mario and Rabbids shooting at each other is certainly one of the rare surprises of the industry nowadays. And the fact that this game is much more entertaining than anyone was expecting is another one. A majority of people who are aware what the Rabbids are seem to almost immediately be turned off by the game simply because of their involvement, and that almost seems to be justified at the game's beginning. Set in the basement laboratory of an avid Mario fan working on a headset capable of fusing any two objects together, the Rabbids, for some reason, appear in their time-washing machine and immediately start wreaking havoc. Normally, Rabbids are ridiculously obnoxious and over the top, way more annoying than funny. You get the feeling that this is exactly what to expect for the rest of the game as the Rabbids grab a hold of the Super Merge, accidentally causing the time-washing machine to malfunction and send them all to the Mushroom Kingdom. The Rabbids' impossible presence in the Mushroom Kingdom begin to tear the world apart, and the Super Merge's ability to corrupt many of the Rabbids makes matters worse. It's at this point in the game that the Rabbids become more mild than normal, which is a huge relief. The Rabbids never become too much throughout the rest of the game, and that actually gave them a chance to grow on me. I've definitely gained a little more appreciation for the Rabbids by the end of the game than I had for them at the beginning, providing a huge advantage for Ubisoft. There were moments where I chuckled or smiled, largely because the game did something creative with both the Mario and Rabbid franchises simultaneously, or managed to poke fun at Mario's history. A lot of the humor that was strictly Rabbids related was charming at best, but that's still a good thing given the Rabbids' pedigree. Basically, if you're unsure of purchasing this game because of the Rabbids, don't be, especially when you spend all your time shooting them. Kingdom Battles gameplay is broken up into two separate experiences, exploration and combat. Exploration has you traversing through isometric environments in each of the four core locations, solving puzzles, finding collectibles, and making general progression between every combat arena. The collectibles you find range from music tracks, 3D models of various characters, and concept art from the different locales. All of the collectibles can be viewed in the museum outside of Peach's castle, which acts as the game's hub world. After engaging in the first couple combat arenas, the desire to wander through these areas really dissipated. Manipulating the camera was always disorienting and often threw me off track from where I was and where I was going. It's not a problem in linear areas as the camera is generally fixed, but it persists throughout the entirety of the game. Puzzle solving never came across as necessary either. At first, the puzzles were so easy that I had to question why they were even needed. Once inside the final location, the puzzles became too complex and halted the flow of the game. Having to manipulate red, blue, green, and yellow switches to push blocks around, rotate, raise, and lower platforms, connect piping to move forward, or to bend beams of light, the puzzles constantly repeated themselves in varying degrees of difficulty, and I never truly felt the desire to complete them. They just never quite fit in anywhere in my mind. Outside of the puzzle-solving areas, you can gaze around the inane destruction and obscenity caused by the Rabbids' intrusion into the kingdom. The Rabbids are always doing something wacky, and the local inhabitants of the world are always in some form of silly peril. It's all incredibly amusing to see, and all of the environments are so unique and beautiful as well, ranging from frozen deserts to boo-infested Halloween towns, but it's apparent at times that the game doesn't include the same amount of polish as you'd expect from the same game if it was developed by Nintendo. I felt as if the most rewarding parts of the exploration were unlocking each location's hidden bonus chapter, or, more truthfully, simply getting to the real meat of the game, combat. If you've never seen or heard of XCOM before, it's a tile-based, turn-based strategy game with mild RPG elements set in place to strengthen your characters, expand your assets, and grow your team. Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle is a lighter version of that without oversimplifying it or dulling the incredibly fun experience. It's up to Mario and friends, along with a ragtag team of cosplaying Rabbids, to shoot their way towards restoring order. Each combat arena places you on a grid littered with thoughtfully placed cover, warp pipes, and ledges to maneuver across. Kingdom Battle does a well enough job introducing you to the mechanics of the game during the beginning, as it should. It pits you against a couple low-level, soldier-class Rabbids and teaches you the base attacks that every character you possess are capable of performing. Your characters are able to move a certain amount of tiles per turn, they can shoot enemies, dash into enemies, and can use another one of your characters as a jump-off point to reach a further area on the grid. The point of the game is to out-strategize and outthink your opponents, so taking the time to ponder your actions and the ramifications of those actions is pertinent. Thankfully, the game provides a Tacticam feature to use throughout every match, giving you a bird's eye view of the arena, where everyone is positioned, and plot out what your next turn should play out like. Tacticam is incredibly useful and appreciated because the game heavily discourages a lack of strategy. Your enemies are always thinking. You should be too. Over the course of the campaign, you unlock a total of 8 characters. 4 of those characters are from the Mushroom Kingdom, and the other 4 are their Rabbid counterparts. Each character is unique in their playstyles and how they contribute to assisting on the battlefield. Mario is an all-around combat fighter, Luigi a sniper, Rabbid Peach is a healer, etc. Character classes are all dictated by their unique capabilities. Mario, being a combat fighter, has fairly well-rounded stats, and is only really good at taking out enemies. Luigi's position as a sniper means he's better at traversing the arena than other characters, but has significantly lower health points than his allies because of his ability to shoot Rabbids while remaining far away from danger. Rabbid Peach's ability to heal her allies gives her fairly standard stats as well, but she can protect herself with a shield power. Each potential partner's strengths and weaknesses can be adjusted in their personalized skill trees, which are what truly define a character the way you want them to be defined. There are common branches among all trees, like how agile the character is, how much health they have, unlocking their secondary weapons, etc. What really defines each character individually, though, is the special abilities they bring to combat. Mario has his M power, which increases the amount of damage all the allies around him can inflict on their opponents. You can upgrade the range of the ability, how much of a damage boost your allies receive, and how long you have to wait before using it again. His Hero Sight ability, which grants him a free shot at any enemies in motion, can be upgraded for damage boosts and how many times you can shoot in one use. Luigi, with a focus on movement, has his Itchy Feet ability, which allows him and other allies in range the ability to move farther on their next turn. Of course, this can be upgraded to increase the area of effect and how many extra tiles a character can move. Rabbid Peach's Heal and Shield abilities can be upgraded to increase health gains and damage absorption. Allocating your power orbs into the skill tree is invaluable towards not only utilizing the strength of your heroes, but also towards combining those strengths to compensate for the weaknesses of your allies. With partners to choose from and experiment with, managing all 8 trees can become rather exhausting, especially if it's something you weren't quite expecting in a Mario game. Skill trees remediate that situation by allowing you to auto-assign all of your power orbs in case you want to use that character later, but still need to upgrade them. Unfortunately, you don't unlock the final character until near the end of the game. By this point, I was pretty well adjusted to the teammates I've been using throughout the game, and didn't feel obligated to test out any other characters. All the characters should have become accessible by, at most, halfway through the game. That would have given me enough time to experiment with everyone and try engaging the game in more creative, tactical scenarios. Whether or not you were trying the new team builds or didn't like your current power orb allocation, the system also provides a reset button for you to reassign your points based on what you need. Admittedly, I didn't feel the need to use this system either. I became so acclimated to my current team build and was too satisfied with how I spent my power orbs that I simply wasn't compelled to make any alterations. Although other restrictions do apply to the team building. Mario is required to be in the party at all times, and your party also demands at least one Rabbid at all times. I can't shake the feeling that's due to some behind-the-scenes agreement between Ubisoft and Nintendo, but it's frustrating to have to limit your strategic capabilities because of this. Enemy variety in Kingdom Battle is just as varied, with supporters that heal, peekaboos that snipe, bucklers that act as tanks, Ziggies that are basic fighters, Valkyries that are essentially paladins, and so many others. Each combat scenario brings about a unique encounter that requires a unique strategy, each being different than the last. The types of combat missions aren't incredibly diverse though, largely being just death battles and escort missions. By the end of the game, your skill trees will be mostly filled out, but not entirely. Acquiring the power orbs necessary for upgrading skill trees are obtained through completing chapters, defeating bosses, discovering them through exploration, or through challenges. Theoretically, you could spend your time farming power orbs for the later battles, but the game never gets too impossibly difficult to demand that, only that you think wisely about what you do. Plus, the crops harvested by your farming are too insignificant to want to grind for that long. Mario, Luigi, Rabbid Peach, and the rest of the Ragtag Mushroom Alliance all have an incredibly diverse range of weapons to choose from. Mario's weapons are all medium range, and his secondary weapons are all hammers. Rabbid Peach's weapons are medium range and sentry units, and Luigi's are sniper rifles and sentry units. You get the idea. Every character's weapons have a chance to trigger a bonus effect. Mario's weapons can activate either a honey effect, which keeps the enemies from moving, or bounce, which throws enemies backwards and can potentially cause extra damage. Luigi can ink Rabbids, making them temporarily unable to attack, or bounce them. Rabbid Peach can push enemies back or use honey on them. The plethora of weapons each character has to select from are all humorously named and artfully crafted, but every subsequent purchase from one weapon to another feels more like mandatory progression, when instead it should feel like browsing through a full, lavish arsenal. New weapons are unlocked throughout the game, and they are unlocked in pairs. Once I understood the patterns of the weapons, and that the only differences between the previous pair of unlocked weapons and the new pair is how much damage they inflicted, I stopped caring about what the weapons looked like, and only focused on purchasing the strongest weapons with a special effect I want attached to it. The whole system squanders the potential that could have been found in soaking in the creative, eclectic art direction of the weapon designs. Coins are required to unlock weapons, and unless you're consistently doing great in every battle, you might have to backtrack throughout the game to collect coins and farm challenges. Setting the complaints aside, the way the combat actually plays and feels is the real one-up. Every action and every motion is fluid. Little effects and graphics, like the rabbits turning into spirits and blue pixels when defeated, and the way the projectiles travel across the grid are just so appealing to look at. The game knows this too, and have included cinematic camera angles that will occasionally play out after making a move or declaring an action. Nothing in the game has been more satisfying than using Mario's bounce effect on his weapons to knock an enemy up in the air, only to have Luigi lean out from behind cover with a look of determination that rivals the hatred in his eyes in Mario Kart 8, takes a shot and follows the projectile as it collides with the rabbit, further knocking it back off the edge and ultimately defeating it. Cinematic shots makes moments like these so much more memorable, even if the enemy is the one dominating the play. After experiencing the delight that is the campaign, there's a number of things you can do, but nothing that sustains a high level of replayability. You can backtrack through each of the 4 locations and finish up grabbing all the collectibles to view in the museum. You can try to perfect each location's 10 challenges, including the secret ultra challenges hidden around the castle. You can hunt down the secret chapters in every world, or you can participate in cooperative battle missions with friends, which I don't have. Throughout my experience with Kingdom Battle, I oftentimes came across music that emitted the same kind of emotions and level of calmness that I experienced years ago with Viva Pinata. Upon researching, I discovered that Grant Kirkhope was responsible for scoring the game, and had also contributed to Viva Pinata in the past. The music felt very similar to me, and I was taken aback by it because Grant has never had anything to do with a Mario game before. Kingdom Battle's score isn't nearly as memorable as other Mario games, and isn't quite Kirkhope's best work, but it elicited exactly the kind of reactions it intended to, which is fine by me. Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle succeeds where it really matters, which is creating an XCOM-style shooting experience that's accessible to a larger player base. I still can't believe I'm talking about Mario and guns in the same sentence, and I still can't believe that I'm talking about Mario and Rabbids in the same sentence. But it doesn't excuse that the aesthetically entertaining environments traveled along through exploration are really kind of needless, especially the puzzles. The setup for this game ultimately feels shoehorned in, but it does what it needs to in order to create such a bizarre narrative. If you're a fan of Mario games, this clearly doesn't play like anything in the past. If you're in the majority of people who despise the Rabbids, this game has plenty of them. But if you're willing to suspend your pre-existing judgments on Rabbids, take solace in the fact that they are more mild-mannered in this game, and that you spend the whole game shooting them, and you have a certain affinity for Mario's colorful characters and worlds, I'd recommend journeying down the rabbit hole into this outlandish adventure. No mushrooms required.